Welcome, or hopefully welcome back to the Reliability Matters podcast, where we focus on best practices for manufacturing reliable circuit assemblies. Because when it comes to electronics, reliability really does matter. In this episode, I'm joined by Chris Ward, founder and managing director of Solderking Assembly Materials Limited, a UK-based manufacturer of solders and chemical consumables for electronic, electrical, and engineered assemblies. Chris brings decades of experience in soldering materials and chemical formulations. He's built a company committed to performance, consistency, and innovation. Earlier this year, Chris and his company were honored with the prestigious King's Award for Enterprise in International Trade, recognizing their exceptional export growth. That recognition earned him an invitation to Windsor Castle, where he had the distinct honor of meeting King Charles III. Today, we'll explore the evolving world of soldering materials, from the realities behind no clean flux to reliability challenges in harsh environments to innovations in solder chemistry that support today's miniaturized and mission-critical electronics. Whether you're on the production floor, in the design lab, or managing quality and reliability, this is a conversation that brings valuable insight to the materials behind the mission. Let's get started.
Welcome to Reliability Matters, a podcast for the electronic assembly industry. Each episode covers topics related to reliability, best practices, and environmentally responsible assembly techniques, with insights from experts across the electronic assembly industry. Now, here's your host, Mike Conrad.
Hi, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mike. How are you doing?
I am super. Thank you. I'm glad you're my guest. I've wanted to talk to you for a while. I'm glad we are finally together. So, Chris,
thank you.
Before Solderking? Let's go to the beginning. Before Solderking, what were you doing?
I've always been actively involved in solders. So, Solderking, we're a family-run business. It was actually co-founded by myself and my father. My father is a very intelligent man, and he's always been involved in the chemistry behind products. We previously worked for another solder manufacturer, and I went straight from school and started producing solders on the shop floor whilst my father was developing products. Eventually, I moved into a customer service role and then a sales role, and in 2018, myself and my father, we branched off and we co-founded Solderking together.
And what was the inspiration to, people can do two things. Most people, like normal people, work at a job and get paid and sign the back of the check, not the front of the check. And that's kind of a seemingly safe place. I did that for a lot of years. And then 33 years ago, I did what you did and started a company. What made you leave 9 to 5, so to speak, and jump into what was probably 9 to 9, type world.
And a bit more.
And a bit more, yes. Yeah, on a short day, yeah. What was the inspiration to I mean, did you, from my experience, people start companies for a few reasons. One could be an also-ran. Hey, we can do that. There's room in the market for another just like all the others. That's one motivation. Another motivation is we can do it better. This is good, but I have a better way to do it. And then another would be this is novel, right? So clearly solder is not novel. So I'm going to eliminate that from likely motivations to start the company. What was between you and your father, what was the motivation to jump into a space that's already occupied?
Yeah, so you're right in saying it is already occupied. As you know, there's many solder manufacturers within the global marketplace. We set the company up based on passion. We're incredibly passionate about solders, and it's what we've always done. We noticed that within the UK, there's a certain demand for high reliability solders. You want a manufacturer that's agile, and Solderking, we grew the company based on those principles, and we've rolled with that.
So kind of a we can do it better motivation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah.
very, very challenging
I
journey to
said it
say
so
the
you didn't
least.
have to.
Yeah.
That's great. How does Solder King, besides emphasizing high quality materials and high performance products,
Mm,
which I totally agree. Today, electronics. I mean, name electronics that aren't demanded to be high performance. Today
yeah,
just the basic design of a circuit assembly with highly miniaturized components and almost no space between conductors and no space
yeah,
between the bottom of the component and the top of the laminate. I think just by nature one would consider those high performance. Certainly 30 years ago, if we saw a preview of boards today, we would consider those like super high performance and
yeah, yeah, massively.
massively high performance and and challenging in so many aspects, particularly in soldering
Yeah.
materials. But besides the focus on high performance materials, how else does Solder King differentiate itself from the competitive landscape? You jumped into a pool that had a lot of swimmers in it.
Yeah.
What was your vision in as far as doing something different or better or whatever the case may be? We spoke off camera before we started recording
Yeah.
about being different and standing out
Yeah.
in a crowded marketplace. What would be different about Solder King versus the rest of the pack?
Yeah. I'd say we're incredibly proud on helping engineers solve problems, right? Do you know that's the go-to? You're on the front. You're speaking to customers all the time, and I believe that every manufacturer, they've all got their own little challenges that they're facing. Day-to-day issues that people are just continuing to work, and rightly so. But there's always that little niggle. And so I'd say that we're focusing on engineers that solve problems. Let's look at, for instance, robotic soldering. It's a trend, especially throughout the UK, that is certainly growing and carrying some momentum. And so you have to develop a solder wire that can adapt to these changes. You have to develop a solder wire that can flow fast, that leaves clear, clean residues, one that can achieve IPC class 3 soldering. And traditional solders, for instance, really struggle to keep up with the demands of a robot because of the speeds. So, yeah, we can say creating products to help solve problems.
When was your company established? Was it the last few years?
September 2018.
18. Okay. I would
Yeah.
imagine that if a cell phone company decided to launch
Mhm.
today, it didn't start with phones that were this big, and it started today. So its first phone would meet all the challenges of today. I would think the same with a soldering material company. The fact that you started in
Yeah.
2018 means you started with pretty much high density. All your customers building high density products, and
Yeah.
many of those products going into harsh environments, and
Mhm.
standards for voiding already established. You didn't grow into that,
Yeah.
so that just became your day one norm, right? So
Day one challenge. Yes,
day one
exactly. Yeah.
challenge, right? So as opposed to incremental increases in challenges, which makes it
Yeah.
more difficult for you, and B, you grew up in a. I mean, the company started in a challenging time, and
Yes.
and I think we look at things different that way. When I started my company 33 years ago, it was way different
Mhm.
than the market was way different. The
Yeah.
cleaning challenges were way different then than they are today. They're a lot harder today, and we had to
Mhm.
constantly evolve, constantly evolve. I would imagine if a company in my space started today, today
Mhm.
would just be the normal challenge, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
just
It's
you just
it's the
kind of look at
challenges of even
yeah,
It's
you
the
just look
challenges
at
of being
things differently.
setting up a business, like
Yeah,
wire drawing machines. For instance, keeping up with the demand. We're a solder manufacturer. We started with the single wire drawer machine. Now we've got five. We started with a single melting pot. Now we've got quite a few. Paste mixing things, keeping up with demand. So there's challenges throughout. Challenges from manufacturing the product, challenges to innovating the product. It's quite a journey, honestly.
yeah. You didn't choose a business that had a zero cost of entry. I mean, making making solder powder and forming it into all these different shapes and wires and pastes and sizes and all that is not cheap. So you started with something that's you can't just make in your backyard in your kitchen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I suppose we could melt some tin in the kitchen, and sell
There
a
you
solder
go.
part, but that's as
Yeah.
far as we're going.
A kettle on one side and a solder tin and lead melting in a bowl somewhere else.
Yeah.
Your company manufactures in the UK.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if other companies are manufacturing in the UK or not. I know there are a lot of soldering material companies that manufacture in various places throughout the world. But Solderking, manufactures and according to everything I've read about your company, proudly manufactures in the UK. How does that impact being in the UK yourself, the company founded in the UK, and actually doing all your manufacturing in the UK? How does that impact quality control, innovation, supply chain responsiveness, all of that, as opposed to being in the UK and having your factory in Malaysia or China or Mexico or wherever else?
Manufacturing it in the UK, for one, it's something that we are incredibly proud of. We've manufactured the full comprehensive range of products at Solderking. Like I mentioned, we produce the solder wires, the solder paste, the fluxes. All items are manufactured at our facility, in-house technologies, and again, we're flying the flag for British manufacturing there, and it's something, like I say, we're very proud of. I'd say what puts us on the front foot is our R&D team simply steps away from the production line. So innovation cycles, fast feedback loops are short. And from a logistics point of view, yes, we have, or there's a conception that there's challenges with Brexit and exporting, but with the King's Award recognition, it's really highlighted that there's routes available. We won the award for international trade. 44% of our business is actually export. So we've proven time and time again that British manufacturing is strong and Solderking are there to stay.
That's great. I'm a big believer, and some might say it's a Pollyannish view, but it doesn't matter what people say. I'm a big believer in build where you live, buy where you live, if possible. So I have several friends and colleagues, associates that have companies in our space, and they build overseas in all the usual places. And they're like, Mike, you could build for a fraction of the price if you just go there. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't live there. I live here. And, it all starts at home. And it's not necessarily patriotism, although that's part of it. It really is more practical. I want stakeholders in my business to be my neighbors, to be people who live within my state, if not within my country. If not, then we'll buy from overseas, but we'll buy through someone here so that someone has a stake in our success and is part of our success. And I don't know, I just feel that way. And if I lived over there, I would build there. I mean, it's not a question of building here just because I'm American. It's really more of a philosophical thing, a big picture thing. So I totally respect that.
It's also how we've, I'd say for Solderking as well to be a UK manufacturer, the UK electronics industry and the whole of Europe is fantastic, to be honest. Throughout the UK, you tend to find that there's hundreds of contract manufacturers, all unique in their own little ways, family businesses, and you've also got the global players as well. And it's just a great market. So for a British manufacturer of solders, one that knows their products inside and out and can provide the support services that go with it, it's the perfect package.
Yeah, I would think so. So let's get into some technical stuff. We've seen a push toward low temperature solder. And lead-free, obviously lead-free formulations, various types of lead-free formulations. What trends are shaping the future of solder alloys, and how is Solderking adapting to them?
Yeah. So I would say the current trends. Yes, you've got your low melting point alloys and typical SAC alloys with dopants, etc., to kind of strengthen those properties. But I would say there's also be a trend, and quite well, ironic that we're on your podcast, is the reliability of fluxes. Fluxes play a huge part, as you well know, within solder chemistry and the process. With applications such as automotive and aerospace, defense, reliability really is key to shaping the future.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I remember once interviewing someone from a soldering materials company, and they were talking about the kind of hyping their new high reliability solder paste, and I said, and I said rather flippantly, just to make a point, I said, "Oh, where on the shelf does that go next to the low reliability solder paste?" Because I would think, like, okay, if you're specifically marketing this as high reliability, what does that say about all the other products that don't have that label on it, right? I mean, is that relative to another product? And I think there was a stumbling on that answer. It was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, but they got through it. But it's the same with low voiding solder paste. I had another company that was really pushing low voiding solder paste, and I'm like, well, what if I spent a little less money? Could I get the high voiding solder paste? It's got to be careful about the claims, right? Because I would think all their materials are high reliability and all their materials are low voiding. But
you could kind of rewind back. Let's just rewind back maybe 15, 20 years, and you look at flux technologies back then. They're all moderate activity levels, type M, according to IPC. Electronics weren't where they are now, and so flux chemistries had to really evolve to, again, keep up with the demand for the electronics industry. You can promote high reliability, but look back 15, 20 years ago, you wouldn't get that type of solder wire on a life critical product.
Sure, yeah. You talk about the importance of the chemical side of soldering materials, that mainly being the flux. I remember distinctly when no clean fluxes, first came out. It was right around the time I started a cleaning company. Just talking about timing, right? And for years and years and years, arguably, no clean was successful in the way it was intended to be successful. Very, very, very low residue, super low solids. Most people did not have to clean it. We still sold equipment because the military, aerospace, medical, they all cleaned. They never got on the no clean train. But most commercial type 1, type 2, class 1, class 2 manufacturers clearly. No, I'm sorry. Class, the lower classes said, we don't have to do this. We're out, right? So they stopped cleaning, and they were pretty successful. The last decade or so, in particular, has seen a migration of people cleaning no cleans. In fact, I talked to one flux company, soldering materials company, who was introducing a product where the tagline was something to the effect of, their no cleans are more easily cleaned than other no cleans. Like, okay, maybe we ought not call them no clean. Maybe we ought to call them low residue, and or whatever. But at any rate, more and more, in my experience, more and more companies are cleaning no clean. In fact, we do polls every year. We've been doing it for a decade, and one of the questions is always, if you're cleaning your circuit assemblies after reflow, what type of flux are you removing? And by far, Chris, it's no clean. Now, that doesn't mean no cleans are not successful in not cleaning. It means that they're the most popular flux being used today, right? And because of that, if something's going to be clean, chances are it's going to be a no clean. So, I think I read, when I was doing some background on you, I thought I had read, correct me if I'm wrong, where you wrote something, I don't know, on LinkedIn or a paper or something about no cleans, and should they be not cleaned or should they be cleaned? Did you write something like that at some point?
Maybe a couple of years ago, but
Yeah.
so to dive into no clean, I'll be quite straight talking on this, but I believe no clean is just a terminology. And whilst you can be using no clean solders and in the ideal environment, everything's fine. It happens. There's so many manufacturers using no clean solders, and yeah, they work well. They're suitable for their application. Absolutely, it's great. But no clean, we do always advise to customers that they should evaluate their own products, and they should evaluate to ensure that a no clean solder is fit for purpose. This no clean product could be in one of the world's harshest environments where simply having flux residues on the PCB can cause issues. So no clean, potentially, yes, can be suitable for many assemblies, but again, if you're unsure, test again, and then if you find that residues do need to be removed, remove them well.
That's a refreshingly candid answer. I think a lot of companies will say, "No, don't clean it. Don't clean it. It's fine," without asking questions like, "Where's it going? What kind of a climactic environment it's going to be in?"
And like I said, it might be fine. There's 99 times out of 100, it might be fine. But you should always test a solder wire on your product to ensure it's fit for purpose for its product lifespan. And
Yeah, well, I think what a lot of people also don't consider is, we're having an earthquake.
Yeah.
Hang tight a second.
Yeah.
All right, it stopped.
Nice.
Welcome to California. Yeah, you didn't. I don't know if you saw anything shaking, but there was definitely an earthquake.
I saw a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fun. Well, that's a first for this episode. Episode 176, the episode 176 earthquake. Yeah, that was fun.
Nice.
So one of the things that manufacturers sometimes fail to consider is if they are running no clean and not cleaning, because just having no clean doesn't mean you're not cleaning it. That's just the name, to your point earlier, that's just the name of the flux, no clean flux. It doesn't mean don't clean. Yeah. It means that if you're not going to clean, this is the species of flux one needs to buy. But a lot of times after I give a speech or, teach a course or something, I'll have some soldering materials people come up to me, not very happy, and say, you're impugning no clean. And I'm like, no. The problem is rarely just the flux residue, if there is any flux residue left behind. The problem is when you don't remove the flux, you don't remove anything. And it's the totality of all of the residues, most of which companies like yours never put on, right? It's board fab residues, it's component fab residues, it's process residues, it's human residues, it's environmental residues, and maybe a little bit of low solids residues from the flux, right? If any. It's the totality of all the residues. So the question isn't, does the flux residue have to be removed? The question really is, do all the residues have to be removed? Is it problematic? And the flux gets the blame for it, but it's rarely just the flux. It's the totality of all of the sins of the past that are catching up to reality. What role do halide-free and low residue flux chemistries play in improving reliability, particularly in harsh environments?
So we can kind of rewind back to what I just said about flux chemistries maybe 15, 20 years ago. These type M's that had over 1% halide in there. And yes, they soldered incredibly well, but that level of halide content on a sensitive electronics component or PCB it could potentially cause you issues. So yeah, halide-free, low residue, solder wires, solder paste. Yeah, there's certainly been advancements within the technologies there. They do. You tend to find that aerospace and defense applications, they are hoping to reduce the level of ionic contamination and corrosion risk. So yes, I believe there's other factors involved. I believe focusing on SIR data, I believe focusing on corrosion testing. They're all various factors that you should be looking at, but Again, would I be putting a traditional solder wire that's 15 years old onto a high reliability product? No. The main reason is because it's probably packed full of halide. So I'll be focusing more on a newer technology, that's for sure. Even one of the high reliability products that solder manufacturers are promoting that do contain that little bit of halide, it's still a step in the right direction comparing to where we were.
Yeah, it's a giant leap forward there. What are some of the common misconceptions engineers or assemblers have about solder paste performance or flux compatibility? What do we get wrong?
Yeah, I suppose misconceptions about different. I suppose that one solder paste fits all. You can certain misconceptions. Yeah, I'd say one solder paste fits all. You can have one solder paste running one type of application. You can move it onto the next with different stencils, and it's going to work. When simply, there's so many different variables within solder paste. I've mentioned to past colleagues and to customers that within solder paste and a flux medium, there's maybe 20 to 25 different active ingredients all in there, all playing their own part. So I would say, a misconception is one paste fits all. There should certainly be different products used for different applications.
Yeah. Are there specific challenges when soldering engineered parts or high reliability assemblies, such as those used in aerospace or medical applications?
I would say high reliability assemblies, they require tighter tolerances, potentially extended temperatures, full traceability. Their challenges, though, would not really. Most contract manufacturers would have very similar challenges. So I suppose it's just ensuring you've got the right product for the correct application.
Yeah. Beyond solder and flux, I can't imagine there's much in soldering materials beyond solder and flux, but there probably is. What other chemical consumables are critical to assembly reliability and often overlooked?
Poor cleaning chemistry. I'm sure you're a big advocate for that, and it is quite often overlooked. Stencil cleaning. You want to ensure that your stencil is cleaned efficiently, apertures are completely clear, there's no lint on there. Yeah, I'd say cleaning consumables are quite often overlooked. You can find brushes on the worktop that are scrubbing away flux residue that may have even been there for 3 or 4 years. Who knows what's on that brush? But you can still see it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Coming from the cleaning side, I remember there when certain fluxes that were made in Asia became somewhat popular in North America. They were notoriously difficult to clean. And yet people were choosing that flux type because of other considerations, because of how it reflowed or how it performed, avoiding, I don't know, whatever their criteria was, that won. And that actually is the most important, clearly. It has to reflow, it has to perform, it has to attach, it has to perform from a solderability standpoint. But it was also just a bitch to clean. It was hard. And the chemical companies, the chemical formulators for cleaning rose to the occasion. The equipment manufacturers rose to the occasion. And, the problem got solved, but it was difficult. So to your point, if someone chooses that flux and they're planning on cleaning and they can't clean it, then it really isn't a great solder paste in use because it's going to fail from an ECM standpoint, if it can't be properly cleaned. So, I guess people need to look at, beyond the reflow performance and, what happens next. How important is the synergy between fluxes and cleaning agents in post-soldering processes? Do mismatches pose risks?
Very important, because my logic is if you're going to clean it properly. And so if you're using a solder paste with a similar type or with a type of cleaner that doesn't quite remove all the residues, you could potentially be opening a can of worms there. So if you're going to clean, use a cleaner that's been developed for that product, that's been proven, that's been tested, and ensure that all residues are cleaned correctly and properly.
Yeah, that's good insight. Can walk me through the typical life cycle of a new solder or flux formulation from concept to testing to deployment in the field. What what's it like behind the curtain?
Yeah, so it starts with need. It starts with, right, this is the current trend, this is where the market's happening, and this we get this information from dealing direct with customers, ensuring that we're on their sites and we're talking to them about challenges. Then it heads back to the labs. We speak about this and we communicate, and there's various different samples, different methods, lots of failing, lots of near attempts and starting again and being close to the result. And then next comes the next stage, once you have got a couple of formulations, is going to the customers, running a few different trials, maybe, or running a lot of trials actually, and ensuring that it can meet all process conditions, that all testing is acceptable, and that it meets all of the standards. And then after that, that's when you release the products.
So it's quite a journey.
So yeah, it is a journey. Yeah, it certainly is a journey.
Do you enjoy that part of your job? The mad scientists working in the lab as much or more than, your endless road trips, selling jars?
Fortunately for me, it's actually my father who's the mad scientist. So I can leave him in there. He does a fantastic job. And then, yes, I have the side of the business where I'm going to the customers and I'm testing things and getting first-hand experience and reporting it back. So does he love that side of the business? He absolutely loves it.
Yeah.
So do I enjoy my part of it as well? Yes.
He's a happy lab rat.
He certainly is. When he's got his toys, he's a very happy man.
Yeah, that's great. With miniaturization and ultrafine pitch components, how has the demand for precision in materials changed over the recent years?
It has changed significantly. We're venturing towards, everybody knows, the finer pitch powders, for instance. It has changed. Yes, traditional O201 components, that type of thing, everything they're not going to disappear anytime soon, but assemblies are getting much tighter and much smaller, and flux development has to move along with that as well. So there's always changes. It's changes for the good. It might be challenging for people, but it's certainly good to see advancements within this technology, for sure.
The solder sphere size in solder paste is measured, it's called type, type, then a number following that. What's the typical type size today?
Yeah, typically I would say the majority are on type 4, which is a particle range of 20 to 38 micron. Then you have type 5, which is the smaller solder sphere. So the larger the type number, the smaller the sphere. And type 5 predominantly is for printing, fine pitch components, and then you have the jet dispensing realm as well, which is type 6 and type 7.
Do you see with technology, emerging technology like ultra high density interconnects, UHDI, and the absolutely near microscopic size of components today, do you see, sometime like a type 8, coming down the pipe, or type 22? I mean, at what point do we reach like not manufacturable, right?
Who knows? This is, I would say, what is very exciting about our industry. Now, let's focus on, you said, potentially type 8. That means you've got to develop a flux that is so incredibly small in terms of the particles involved. Yeah. That, solder powder is one thing, but then what about the flux? What about the demands there from the lab? So who knows where we're going to go? But you can't write it out, can you? You can't write it off.
Yeah, I would assume 50 years ago, what we're doing today would be like unimaginable, right? So it is amazing that almost every year, it's like it's like Moore's law applied to solder paste, right? Where in Moore's law, transistors, the number of transistors on a chip are expected to double every year or year and a half or whatever. There's probably a similar Moore's law applied to the size of the solder paste spheres and things like that. It's just getting more challenging and more challenging. Maybe not on the same cadence as transistors, but similar trajectory. Let's talk about sustainability for a moment. Sustainability is becoming a bigger part of pretty much all conversations today. Are there
Yeah.
environmentally friendly or recyclable alternatives to traditional chemical consumables?
Yeah, there are. Solderking have recently been awarded a bronze award through EcoVadis for our sustainability efforts. It puts us in the top 35% of companies, and it's something that we're incredibly proud of. And sustainability, as well as high reliability, it's certainly a trend, and it's certainly a direction where we're all heading. Recyclable materials, chemistries that can be reused, even spools, packaging, that type of thing has all got to fall along the best sustainable practices. So it's taken us in another direction, and for the better, I believe so. Where does it carry on, and where does it end? I'm not too sure yet. But in terms of solders and fluxes, yeah, there's options there for sustainability efforts for sure.
How do you educate customers about using your products correctly and ensuring process consistency on the production floor? It's one thing to sell them on it, and it's another thing to make sure it's being used in the manner you intended it to be used.
Yeah. Well, you have to be out on the field. So, yeah, I'm a big advocate for face to face, working with the customers, working with an engineer, being an engineer yourself, and being on the shop floor. Quite often, I hold talks for clients, customers, contract manufacturers, OEMs as well, and teach them on the best practices for solders, because there's so many different avenues that you can go down. Handling procedures for solder paste, handling procedures for solder wire, how to control the fluxes within your selective or your wave, solder analysis, guiding them on that type of thing as well, ensuring that the pots are all within specification. So working with your customers, ensuring that you're there, and providing an incredibly high level of technical support to ensure that they get the best from a solder manufacturer.
Excellent. And where are we going? Where's the soldering materials industry going? What innovations are you most excited about that you see maybe in the next 3 to 5 years, which is like 3,000 years, for civilians, right? When it comes to solders and assembly materials, get your crystal ball out.
Yeah, crystal. Well, if only I could be 100% confident on this, but certainly it is heading towards reliability. There's no question about it. With the advancements in military, medical, and defence capabilities, that's the route it's going down for sure. It's just ensuring that Solderking keep doing what we're doing. We stay on the front foot, and we support the customers on that journey.
Excellent. Now, before we go, we're almost out of time. I want to talk about, we talked about it earlier, but this happened, right?
Yeah.
What was it like? I mean, it was obviously a prestigious award and well-deserved. So congratulations on that. But tell me, what was it like to open that? Did someone hand deliver the envelope? Did someone come to your home?
I wish they did. However, no. But a really nice looking envelope came through the door, and it just said, basically, his master of the household has been commanded by His Majesty the King to invite you to Windsor Castle on a particular date. And what an experience. Honestly, an extraordinary experience that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
I would think so. So you arrive at the castle. I love that picture of you I showed in the intro of you just standing with your arms out, in front of the castle. That was great. And then I saw the pictures. It looks like the picture of you with King Charles is inside. Do they set this up like an outdoor tea party, or is it all happening inside?
Yeah. So, just to talk about the magnitude of the King's Award, we were one out of 197 UK businesses that were honoured with such an achievement. And considering that Solderking we set up in 2018, and to be recognised for outstanding short-term growth it's been quite the ride. And so you stood outside with all these business owners, very respectable business owners, as you can imagine, and you led through and you end up in the hall. And so you're in the hall, this great hall, it's fantastic. And after a few short minutes of being there, when champagne's been passed around and a few nibbles, His Majesty the King walked through with quite a few other members of the royal family as well, actually. They walk through and they all spend the evening having a conversation with you, learning about your business, telling them. It's just a fantastic experience, and they really did give you the time and the effort as well. I'm still quite starstruck by it all, to be honest.
So for the audience, I'll put up a large version of this picture, not just a thumbnail that you're seeing, but it looks like you're saying you've engaged the king. Two of you are definitely communicating. By the look on, it's hard to see the look on King Charles's face, but he almost looks like he almost walked past you and then looked back very quickly. What did you say to him, if you can remember? What did you say to him that caught that attention?
Well, he actually spotted the name tag, and he's got a gentleman in his ear there, sort of guiding him on who stood there. And yes, he just heard Solderking, and that was it. We had a great laugh about the company name and the setup, and how ironic it is that we're actually in the same room with each other.
Oh, that's funny. So he's like, "I'm a king."
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Tips for business owners in the UK. If you want a better chance at getting an award and meeting the royalty, change your company name to have the word king in it, and you'll do well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Chris, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time out. For my North American listeners and viewers, if you want to purchase Chris's products, you will need to immigrate to the UK, or at least set up a factory there, because at this moment, as of today, he's not here yet. And when I spoke with him off camera, I have to totally respect the reason. He said they're so busy, growing in the UK and Europe that they're really not able to adequately service people outside of that particular zone, which is a totally respectable decision. I can't tell you how many companies I've dealt with over the years that should have had that mentality, but didn't. Thought they could, just start with the world, and they didn't do it very well. Let people down. So, Chris, I will look forward to the day when your products are available beyond the UK and Europe. But I totally respect the decision to grow slowly and work all the kinks out before you expand around the world. But I have no doubt you will expand around the world, and I'll be sitting here on the sidelines going, I remember him, And then if you continue this success with your royal connections, pretty soon I'll have to refer to you as Sir Chris. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I knew you when you were a mere civilian. So I wish you all the success in the world. For my audience who would like to get more information on Solderking, if you look at the show notes, if you're watching this on YouTube, right down here somewhere it says see more. Click that and you'll get information on how to get to the Solderking website, the URL, and all that information will be there. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, when it's safe to do so, don't do it while you're driving. Go to that podcast app, look at the show notes, and that information will be there as well. Chris, thank you for joining me and my audience. And I really appreciate the words of wisdom. And I wish you and your father and the entire kingdom of Solderking all the success moving forward.
Cheers, man. Thank you. It's been a privilege to be on your show, actually. Thank you.
Well, thanks. It's been a privilege to talk to you. And that's a wrap on another episode of Reliability Matters. Thanks for hanging out. Whether you listened on your favorite podcast app or watched on YouTube, I really appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future episodes. On YouTube, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you'll know when new episodes go live. New shows drop every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, so mark your calendars. A big thanks to PCB Chat from the Printed Circuit Engineering Association at PCBchat.com and Ascendo Reliability at reliability.fm for syndicating the show. Got a question or an idea for a future episode? I'd love to hear from you. Just shoot me an email at mike@mikeconrad.com. That's Conrad spelled with a K. Want to learn more about the podcast? Head over to reliabilitymatterspodcast.com. Thanks again for being here. Until next time, keep learning, keep doing it right, and remember, Reliability Matters. I'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening to the Reliability Matters podcast. Join us on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month for new episodes of Reliability Matters.